Hey everybody, I'm live. It's me, Emily, and I'm gonna just chill and sip some tea until some people arrive. If you're wondering why I'm alone, this month Sarah's not joining me because she didn't read the book yet. So she's not gonna participate. It's just me. I hope people come and hang out so it's not just me by myself rambling about a book. But we're going to be talking about The Night Watch by Sarah Waters. This was the October book for our Arrrgh book club. So I'm excited to chat with you guys about it once everyone is here. So I'm just going to sip some tea and we'll wait a bit. So I did a terrible job like reminding people that this was happening. So hi Mickey. So I hope that like people do come because I realized today that like I never actually posted anything like on my YouTube where I usually do. But anyhow, hopefully some people come. Hi Mickey. I'm glad somebody showed up tonight. It's just been one of those months where like I am just so scatterbrained, everything's chaotic. But we're here tonight. We're going to talk about The Night Watch. So I guess I'll just sort of start with my like thoughts on the book as a whole. And then I have some questions I found online. So I gave this 4 stars, but the more I sit with it, I'm more leaning towards like 3.5 stars. And that's because I'm not sure that the weird backward storytelling worked for me. I thought it was really interesting at first, though. Like, that was maybe the most interesting thing about the story as I began reading it to me. Hi, Carla. And so I thought that would be really cool. But by the time I finished the book, I couldn't really quite remember where we were at the beginning. And then I don't know, I feel like this is, I want to read it again, but backwards. I want to start in 1941 and read it in reverse so that we can go in like linear time because like I don't know. I feel almost like the ending wasn't satisfying because we didn't really get an ending. And because I know that everyone had like a pretty miserable time by the in the beginning part of the book. Like the 1947 section I think was the slowest part of the story, and it was just because everyone was sort of unhappy. And so reading it backwards like that, I don't know, it was a little bit weird and I'm not sure that it 100% worked for me. But that's just all that to say I still liked it. I enjoyed the book. Like I didn't dislike the story. I don't know. I'm not sure I agree with the choice to go in reverse. So, I don't know. What did you guys think? Did you like that? To me it was a little weird. I'm going to put this book down so I'm not holding it the whole time. I think you can still see it back there. So, I don't know. I wrote down notes like if you wanted to discuss characters before we get into the discussion, or should we just go right into the discussion? I don't know. I will say that I did not like most of the characters. Like, I feel like the majority were fairly unlikable, but Duncan was probably my favorite, like, not perspective, because it's not from his perspective, but he was my favorite character to follow in the story. And I kind of wish we got a little bit more of his story because I think his was the most interesting. Because I did not understand what was happening until like about 2/3 of the way through the book. It started to like fall into place what was going on. But in the very, very beginning, when all I know is that he was in prison and then he wasn't anymore, I kind of thought he was like at a prisoner of war camp and maybe like something happened to him in the war that messed up his head. But that is not what was happening. So I don't know. Let me set this up. I did not do that yet. Let me mute myself here. Okay. But anyway, so Duncan was probably my favorite character. I found myself pretty much annoyed with everybody else. And I think it was intentional. Oh, Kay. I liked Kay's storyline too. Kay was probably the only really truly likable character with along with Duncan. Because everyone else is kind of terrible. I don't know. I felt like most of their stories just didn't quite work for me. Oh, I have some thoughts on Mr. Mundy. and Duncan, actually, Mickey. I've been like stewing on it. And I think he almost was, well, like his father figure, but also his jailer, like continue. I don't think it was pedophile though. I don't know. It didn't quite, I think it could be interpreted that way, but I don't think that's what it was going for, because it definitely wasn't sexual. Like I didn't see that. I felt more like it was like maybe he was afraid of being back on the outside after everything that had happened to him, and that he looked to Mr. Mundy as the only person that seemed to understand what he was going through, and was the only one willing to really help him through it. And but also I almost feel like he was keeping him imprisoned even on the outside, like the menial job he was given, which like everyone was like, what is it? Why are you in this line of work, and why are you staying in this place with this person when you could be doing all these other things? So I don't know. I it was a really interesting relationship though, and one, again, I wish we could have explored more, because I felt like there was a lot of unanswered questions. And I think that's the downside of a book like this, when you have so many characters and you can only devote so much time to each one. So I don't know, I felt like we needed some more from Duncan though, because by the time I got to the 1941 stuff, I just felt so sad for him and what he'd been through and what his friend had put him through. Like everyone in the story, they were so terrible to each other. Like, I don't know. So I have some discussion questions I wrote down that we can work through. We've already kind of talked about the first one a bit. And that was, what did you think of the structure of the book? I don't think I liked it. Would the narrative have been different if linear and not told backwards? And what difference did telling it backwards make? I kind of felt like this is the sort of story that doesn't really have plot twists. So in order to make it feel like plot twists, it was told backwards. Because I think if you read the book in a linear timeline, I don't know that it would have been very interesting, because it was very mundane. And I think that was the thing that stuck out to me the most about the novel overall, is how mundane it was. Like, it just didn't feel like a lot happened. And it was in World War II, which makes me like confused sometimes as to how it was so mundane. Like, we were really seeing what it was like to live through it, but also to live through it and not ever once really think about it. Like, no one in the story seemed to really notice the war going on. I mean, obviously you have Kay driving an ambulance and helping people, but besides that, no one's really thinking about the war, which I found very odd. so that struck me as weird. And I don't know. It was an interesting read, but very mundane. So yeah, I think if it was written linear, it wouldn't have been a very compelling story. So this was the like plot twist thing, but it wasn't really plot twists. Like, I don't know, it was very vague in the 1947 section of the book, which I think also added to like this slow pace. Is like, we're just following these people in their sad lives, not really doing anything interesting, but like thinking back about things that we're not going to share yet. So, I don't know, maybe that's just me, but I felt like it really wouldn't work story-wise if it had been told linearly. But I do want to go back now and reread some of the first section, just to like cement in my mind where things ended, because I still feel like maybe there should have been an epilogue or something, because I don't feel like I had any closure on this book. Like, nothing was complete. Okay, the next question says, the book is partially, at least, about secrets. How did you find the reveals for each character, and were any of them disappointing or satisfying? What did you think about the end being the beginning? Yes, I can see that secrets was like a big part of the story, and that's, I think, what made me dislike them the most. I don't know, one of my pet peeves is when people don't communicate with each other. I just don't like that in story. It makes me frustrated. I'm like, if you just told them what was going on. But I feel like a lot of the story revolved around secrets and people not really wanting to share what was really happening. And some of them make sense. Like I totally understand the like lesbian couples having to be stealth, because in that time period it was really dangerous, like for people to be out. So I get that, and that made sense to me. But the way that Helen treated Kay and the way she treated Julia just really bothered me. Like I did not like Helen at all. She's maybe the most unlikable character in the story because she's just very insufferable. Yes, I liked the ring reveal. That was maybe like what happened to Viv was riveting. That was maybe the only time in the book where I was like, wow, this is happening. But the fact that we find out that Vivian is still with Reggie in 1947 after that was just like, I don't get it. but yeah, Helen was just awful. The way she treated Kay, and then the way she talked about Julia, like I just found it bothersome and just, I don't know, uncomfortable. But Julia also isn't really well described, but the way she's written is also just unlikable. Like there's nothing there to like personality wise. She's just kind of this object that Helen desires and is very possessive of. And I don't know. I didn't like her at all. I want to talk about Vivian's story. Viv made me very sad, but also I didn't really get it because nothing about Reggie was attractive. He was just a really awful guy. And I didn't understand. Like there was nothing about his character that made me go, oh, I see why she's with him. Because like he's really, I don't know, he was really not an attractive man in either look or in his manner. He was just a very like, I don't know, squicky kind of character, like kind of sleazy. And the way he treated both his wife, obviously, but also the way he treats Viv is just, she's this object that he thinks is pretty and he likes to have around, but he doesn't want to help. Like the way he abandons her after he gets her this like awful abortion with a dentist where you know something bad is going to happen. Like I don't know why she was still with him in 1947. I was kind of angry. I mean, you see like by the end of that section that like she's moving on and she clearly doesn't love him anymore. But the fact that she was still with him several years later, and also the fact that she never really thinks about the fact that he's married. Like that's just not a thing she seemed to either care or want to know about. And I don't know, that bothered me too, that she was just so cavalier about the whole thing. And the fact that two women were with Reggie, like I don't get it. He's sleazy. I don't know. And the way they met too, I'm like, that whole scene was weird to me. Like, I don't know. I didn't see it at all, and it didn't make sense to me. Duncan was still like my favorite character. I also really like Kay, but Kay's story is so sad, like that she's just this ghost wandering the streets of London in 1947, which means she hasn't quite moved on yet, but I don't know. But yes, Mickey, I agree. It did feel like for a character focused book that the characters weren't all developed enough. I think the characters that we were supposed to be following were fairly well developed, but everyone else was just sort of a caricature, I guess. Like, I don't know. I wanted more from everybody, I think. And again, I don't think I liked the non-linear storytelling. I think it would have worked better either with flashbacks or I don't know. It was weird. I'm not sure how I feel about it. I might have to stew on this book for a few more weeks and really think about my feelings about the timeline thing, because that was just really weird to me. Okay, so what do you make of the Duncan, Mundy, Fraser triangle? And is Duncan still in prison even after he's been released? I kind of feel, again, like I wish there was more about Duncan, because I still don't feel like we got enough of his story to really get it, because his story was the most compelling. Like I truly did not know what was going on or why he was in jail, and how Fraser was relating to him. And I don't know. And I couldn't tell. Like I feel like on the surface it's written that Duncan is gay, but he is adamant that Alec was not his boyfriend. But I don't know if he's adamant about that because he doesn't want to admit it out loud at risk of being in trouble, or if he truly, they weren't a couple. But I'm not sure. And I kind of felt too like he had some attraction to Fraser, and that Fraser may even have some attraction to him. So I want to say there was a moment in the 1947 section when Fraser is talking to Viv and thinking that he thinks she looks so much like Duncan. And maybe that was him trying to like not be gay and be with her instead, since, you know, she's a girl, but she also looks just like them, like her brother. So I don't know. And that might be me trying to like stretch there, but that's a thing I was thinking about in the story. But the fact, yeah, the scene in prison when they're having the bombing and they're in bed together and Fraser's just scared out of his mind and they're just like cuddling. And I'm like, I don't know. On the one hand, I could see like you just need some companionship. And in a moment when you're that scared for your life, you might just want to be held, and it doesn't matter by who. But also, I kind of felt like the author, I know she writes mostly gay characters in her books, and like maybe she was trying to like show that this is a thing that gay people would have gone through in prison too, like in this kind of situation. I don't know, I'm rambling, but I kind of couldn't decide if I was supposed to read it as they were both gay or not. But yes, the thing that the question asks, is Duncan still in prison after his release? That was something that I didn't really think about while I was reading it so much until afterwards when I read this question and went, huh, perhaps, because I didn't really understand what was going on there in the beginning. But after reading the whole book, I do kind of feel like Mr. Mundy was still keeping him imprisoned. And that's why he hadn't gone home. Although I don't think he wanted to go home. I don't think Duncan wanted to be with his family besides Vivian and all of that, because it clearly wasn't a healthy environment for him. But reading the scene with him and Alec was just very sad and upsetting. Like he was he's definitely one of those people that goes with whatever anyone else is doing. Yeah, because Alec died in his house. I don't think he'd want to be there because of that, but also the way his father treats him, I could understand him not wanting to go home, but I didn't really understand what the whole Mr. Mundy, Uncle Mundy or whatever is, because I just didn't quite get it. But I think Mr. Mundy, again, I think it was a relationship of this is a person that understands me and that doesn't look at me the way my father looks at me, like a disappointment. And but I do think he was still being like kind of imprisoned in the outside world by being kept in this candle making job where it's boring and tedious and everyone there is simple minded and or feeble in some way, and he is just like a part of this group now. And I think Fraser was come to kind of rescue him, but I don't know. It was a really weird little triangle, and I couldn't quite get it. And I wish there had been more story about Viv and Frasier and their relationship, because I couldn't tell if it was a situation where they were gonna fall in love and become a couple, and he was gonna get her away from Reggie and all of that. I don't know if that's where that went, but I kind of felt like it was leaning towards that. So I don't know. I think this book leaves too many loose ends. Just like I need closure. Do you think the author effectively captured the essence and the feel of the time period? If you had been alive then, would you have taken part? Would you have fought? Or would you have been a conscientious objector? This is one of the only times like that I can not quite understand being a conscientious objector, because like it was such a good guys versus bad guys war. Yeah, I would like to think I could be like Kay, but I am too squeamish. Like some of the stuff that Kay and Mickey saw would have messed me up. I don't think I could manage that. But yeah, I feel like I would want to have helped in some way, have done something. But I don't know. I feel like I'm not sure what my place would have been in the war. Honestly, whenever I think of World War II, I am like the Jew hiding in the attic somewhere. You know, I don't know how I would have reacted if I had lived somewhere like in England or something, what I would have done, because my brain always puts me like in a dangerous place in that time period, being a Jew. Like I don't know how I would have managed. But I don't know. I think the writing was immersive, but I don't know that it felt enough like what I have read in other books, what I feel like World War II would have felt like, because they were just so nonchalant about it. Like, oh, there's sirens going off and there's going to be a bomb, but I'm going to take a walk. I just like I just felt like the way that some of their reactions were felt strange to me. I don't know. And while there's mentions here and there of rationing and that they can't get good tea anywhere, and that it did feel very flippant. Yeah, that's a good word for it, Mickey. But I don't know how. Yeah, okay, yeah, I can see that, like the way people react to COVID now. I guess you're right. It does feel sort of like that, which again disappoints me. But I don't know, the way that they acted though, with bombs literally falling out of the sky, and they're like, well, let's just take a walk. I don't know. I don't feel like going to the shelter. People are annoying there. Like, I don't understand. So to me, it didn't feel like I feel like most World War II books feel. There wasn't a sense of danger like I feel like there should have been. So I don't, it was a weird read. I don't know how I feel about it. And the more I'm talking about it, the lower my rating is going. Like I started at a 4, now I'm at a 3.5. Maybe it's more like a 3.25. I don't know. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I understood Frasier's attitude toward fighting or Alex, because I just feel like if there was ever a time to need to like go to war, it was then, and like it was justifiable. I don't know, but I don't know how I felt about the time period and its portrayal. The book is about several characters with overlapping plot lines, but no one character represents the heart of the book. How did this affect your reading of it, and would you have preferred it to be about one central character? Do you feel closer to any one character? I don't know that it worked the way it was written for me to like be connected to any particular character. I feel like maybe I would have cared more if this was a Duncan book. And like Duncan's story was the whole thing. And maybe we see some of these other characters on the periphery of Duncan's story, but like Duncan is the focus. I think that might have worked better for me, because I was struggling to relate or care about any of the other characters. Um, like Kay is maybe the only other likable character, but we didn't really get enough time with Kay to really get to know her, because we really only see Kay through Helen. Even though Kay had her own sections where I thought that we were supposed to be following just her, I still felt like we were only getting Kay through Helen and the way Helen thinks of her and that sort of thing. And all of Kay's stuff focused so much on Helen. I don't know. I don't know what was so great about Helen, because she's really not a likable person. I don't know. But I don't know. I feel like Duncan was the character I needed more of. Ooh, that's a good thought. Amy says, I like the formatting precisely because it feels like we're as disassociated from the characters as they were from their environment. That is an interesting point, because they definitely were. That was really insightful. Thank you for that. That makes me think of it a little bit differently, maybe. Because yeah, I didn't really understand the way they were all behaving, and I didn't relate to what they were going through. But yeah, that does change the way I think about it. Interesting. Thank you for that. That's going to make me think differently about the book as a whole. But yeah, I did find it interesting how everyone was connected. And we could see like how all these different people who have very separate, different lives were still interconnected. Oh no, I still don't like Helen. Helen's terrible. Nobody likes Helen because she's just a very unlikable person. Oh, the way she was treating Julia, especially knowing that she got together with Julia cheating on Kay, and then she's all worried about, are you cheating on me? Like you did that. You can't get mad. Like, I don't know. I don't know. Do you think that Julia was cheating on her? I couldn't decide. Part of me thinks she wasn't, and it's just Helen overreacting and being overly possessive. But honestly, I don't know. I can't decide if Julia was actually having an affair on her. I still don't know. I can't decide if that was a thing that was happening for real, or if that was just Helen worrying too much about, yeah, we do see mirrors of ourselves. Yes, I can see that. Maybe she's just projecting that because she knows that she did that she expects that Julia will too. But I do wish we got a little bit more personality from Julia, because I don't quite know how I feel about her as a character, because I only ever saw her as a possession. And I wish she had been a little more developed. The last question I have, oh yeah, and that Julia went along with it. Yes. Like, both of them are pretty terrible, I think, and the way they treated Kay. So I don't know. The last question is, what do you think are the ultimate fates of each character? Again, I really wish there had been some kind of an epilogue. I needed some closure, because I really don't feel like we know where any of them are at this point. Like, even knowing the end of the story first, I'm not sure that was enough closure for me to feel like I know where things stand. So let's go through the characters. Let's see, where do we think they are? We saw Kay being sort of like a ghost floating through London, not really sure what to do with herself. Obviously, she's alone. I'd like to think that she finds somebody, because I don't know, I felt very sad for her. I like to think that she's able to find someone who loves her the way she loves them, because she deserves that. And I was just very sad for her. Her storyline in the beginning was quite sad. I don't know. I feel like Helen, I think Julia's gonna leave her. If I were Julia, I would have left her, because like, she's clearly not a good girlfriend, and I don't know. the possessiveness of their relationship bothered me a lot, and I feel like Julia would leave her. Um, Viv and Kay, ooh, that's interesting. Yes, I would like them to be friends because I felt like that was such a life-changing moment for Viv. And yeah, I loved Kay. She was such a sweet person and wanted to help everybody, and I loved her and I want good things for her. Um but yeah, let's see, Viv. I want Viv to leave Reggie so bad. Like I want her either to be single or to find a man who will treat her well and who isn't married, preferably. That would be nice. Because like I just didn't like that. Um, let's see. Duncan. I want Duncan to live a full life. I want him to like actually be able to do what he wants and maybe go back to school. I felt like he was such a like an artist or a writer. Didn't they wasn't there something about him being a writer? Am I making that up? I felt like there was a thing somewhere about how he liked to write. I might be hallucinating that, but I want him to like be able to live a full life and go back to school and I don't know, at least get free of Mr. Mundy. It would be nice if Duncan and his father could resolve their issues because obviously they have a good family life. I mean, Vivian loves her brother and her father, but they're both kind of afraid of their father. So, I don't know. But yeah, I could not understand her still being with Reggie after that. Like, are you serious? What could he possibly offer you to make you go back to him after that? Any man who just abandons you when you're literally dying. Like, what is that? Why would you go back to him? I was angry. And maybe he becomes a host on the Antiques Roadshow. That's a good one. I like that. Um, what about Frasier? Where do you think he ends up? Do you think he and Viv become a couple? I don't know if I like him and Viv together because I kind of feel like he's better with Duncan, and I don't know. I'm not sure how I feel about Frasier with Vivian. So, I don't know. Do you have any other thoughts about the story? Like anything else you want to add or talk about? Let me set this down. Yeah, he did feel like an older brother. Did that come up anywhere? Is he older or is that just our perception of him? I'm not sure if I remember that at all. If he's older than Duncan. But yeah, I did feel like they were close. And like I don't know if I see them as a couple because I don't know if I was supposed to read it as gay. I'm not sure. But I definitely I like the idea of a bromance. They're just being great friends. Ooh, yes, the significance of Kay's ring, because they did mention that she never took it off. I don't know though. Like my initial thought was it was something that maybe Helen had given her. But that doesn't necessarily make sense to me because they weren't married. They were just in a relationship, so or maybe it was I don't know. Did I remember something in the story too about she was with a man once? Maybe the ring was from him? I'm not sure. But that would be interesting to find out. Like, what was the significance of the ring? And why she was compelled to give it up. She did say Kay wanted a wife, yes. Like, that was a thing that they mentioned several times, that Kay really wanted that kind of relationship. And that Julia, for whatever reason, couldn't give it to her, and neither could Helen. So, ooh, that's interesting, Amy. That rings were worn on the right pinky to signify to other lesbians that you were lesbians. That is really interesting. I've never heard that before. That's good to know. That makes sense. Like, I do wonder, because obviously it's dangerous to be in that kind of relationship, how did they meet other lesbians? Like, how do they find each other? So that makes sense. Like, they would have some sort of a code that would help them make sure that they didn't hit on the wrong person. So that does make sense. So maybe it was something like that. In which case, Kay would probably not really think she needs it anymore if she's in a relationship where she feels like she's in a really healthy, loving relationship with Helen, even when she's not. So that makes sense. Okay. Well, thank you, Amy. You're like bringing all the interesting insight to this discussion. Okay, so do we have any other things we want to talk about the story? Any other interesting insights or anything? If not, I was going to make sure everyone knew that the book for this month and next month is The Midnight Library by Matt Haig. We'll probably have the live show like the second week of December. We're not going to have a December book at all because I can't do anything in December, honestly. That is my least productive month. So we're not going to do a book for December, but this will be our book for November and December. And we'll do the live show like middle of the month. So I'm so excited to pick this up. This is one of my most anticipated books of the entire year. I'm dying to read this. So I'm really looking forward to it. And Sarah will be back for that one. I think she's going to try to read this. She's been super busy with school and also with, she's a Sybil's judge this year. I don't know if you guys know what the Sybil's are. It's like a book award, and they do children's books, and she's a judge for the young adult category. And so she has to read like all the nominations, or as many of them as she can, in order to be a judge and choose what the winner will be. So she's got a huge stack of books to work through, but I think she wanted to try to squeeze this in too. So we'll be reading this month. I'm really excited. I love this copy because I do not like the cover art for the American version, but this is beautiful. So I bought this through Book Depository. I don't know if this is in the US edition, but I just think this is great. This is the like inside paper in the book. I love it. It's beautiful. So I'm very excited to pick this up. I don't really know too much about what it's about because I don't like to know a lot going in, but I know this is a woman who dies and she has lived a life of regret. She has a lot of regrets about her life, and in the afterlife, she's given this option to sort of redo a lot of the moments that she's regretted and see what that would have been. So it sounds really, really good. Like, I really want to read this. It's like it's a wonderful life-ish. And I'm expecting it to be very heartwarming and uplifting, and because that's Matt Haig to me. Like, he's just this guy who just wants to bring like joy and make people feel good about themselves and happy. So I feel like this book is going to be that, and I'm very excited for that. I need something like that right now. Like, it'll be great. So that is what we'll be reading next. So let me put that back up. Ooh. So how's everyone doing with their like reading this year? Did you hit your goals? Did you make goals for your reading? I always make a Goodreads goal, and like I usually have a second like reading goal for myself. And so my Goodreads goal was set to 100, and I hit that when I finished The Night Watch. That was my 100th book of the year. So I hit my goal. I'm very pleased. Like, I don't know. I read a lot, but I don't feel like I read a lot this year that I loved, which is just kind of bumming me out. But that's just 2020, I think. But I hope everyone was able to read all the books that they wanted to get to this year. Oh, you have 4 more, Mickey? You can do that. I think you can do it. Yeah, I've just been struggling with my reading, honestly, especially the fall. It's just been like, I don't know what to do with myself. I can't concentrate. I've DNF'd so many things. Like, I'll pick up a book and just be like, no, not this. I don't know. I'm just, I need to find something to read that I like really want to read. So I made a video. I'll be posting it probably on Monday morning about the 10 books that I'd like to get to before the end of the year, and I've already picked up 2 of them and went, eh. So I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing with myself. Oh, yeah, 2-year-olds are not conducive to reading. It's a hard time. Toddlers make it hard to get any reading done. Oh, Mickey, I read The Dark Descent of Elizabeth Frankenstein. I don't know if I read that this year or last year. This year has been so long. But I remembered liking it a lot. I thought it was really good. I would need to read more of Kirsten White's books. I know we own Slayer, and Sarah has been on my case to pick that up because it's a Buffy book, and I love Buffy the Vampire Slayer so much. So I keep saying I'm going to get to it, and I just haven't. Maybe I should pick that up. I just need something to read that will make me excited about reading. I don't know. I'm still looking for that, like reading high that I haven't had for a while. It's been a year. But I did at least meet my goal of how many books I wanted to read. So I did that. Another goal I'd set for myself, which I failed miserably, is I wanted to try to read my shelves and not buy as many books. And I didn't really do that. I made a list like back last December, I think, of all the books that I own on my shelves in the whole house. I made this ridiculous list. It was like, I made it of books that I wanted to read for myself. So it wasn't like middle grade and children's books. It was just my books that I wanted to read. And I think it was like 378 books on the list. And you know how many I read this year off of that list? It's like maybe 4. I was like, how is this possible? How? I read 100 books. How was only 4 of them books I already owned? Like, I can't comprehend that. It didn't make sense to me. I went through that list 3 times and like, are you sure? So I don't know. That's still a goal. I want to like read the books I own and stop picking up other things so much. Like some of it was work related, so sure, I can't help that. But like a lot of it, I was just like, why am I not reading the things I already own? I don't know. I can't explain it. So that's a goal I'm going to carry over into next year, is that I don't want to buy so many books and I want to read the things I own. So we'll see. I will say that there's been a couple of books I've seen that are coming out next year that I'm getting excited for. Neil Schusterman has a new book coming out, so that's exciting. What is it called? Is it like Game Changer? Maybe Game Changer. Now I'm gonna have to look it up, but I want to say it's Game Changer, and it's about parallel universes. So I'm so excited about that because I think that'll be great. Oh, I don't even look at Book Outlet anymore. It's too dangerous. Every time I go on Book Outlet, I end up buying like 10 more books, and I don't need that right now. So I won't even let myself look because it's just too much. I can't. I might change that in the future, but as of right now, I won't let myself even look at Book Outlet because I have no self-control there whatsoever. So no, but yay for you guys. There's a 25% off sale. That's exciting. Yes, I've made that promise many a time. Like, I'm not going to buy anymore. Lies. It's always lies. I'm going to buy more because I don't know how not to. I will say that because I'm trying to make myself only buy books from independent bookstores and through Bookshop and that sort of thing. So that's really limiting my book spending because I tend to not want to buy as many books when they're full price. So that does help me slow down a bit when I'm like, well, you can't spend $500 on books, Emily. So yeah, I do find that helps me to calm down. And it also makes me feel better because I can justify like buying new books if I'm helping out a used bookstore or an independent bookstore, I mean, instead of buying on Amazon or on Book Outlet. So yeah, that's a goal that I'm going to carry into next year. I haven't made any other goals yet. I need to sit down sometime and like think about what I want to do next year. Like, I don't know if I want to do another big build your library reading challenge because I failed that miserably this year. Like I just did not at all work on that. Like part of it was because of what I was working on for like lesson plans and stuff was mostly America focused. So all of my reading was like about United States, and the entire reading challenge was around the world. And like I just like that was bad planning on my part and I just didn't really think about it. So I don't know. Yeah, 2020 was not good for goals, was it? It's been rough. I really, really want 2021 to be a better year. Like we need a good year. Need it after this mess. Um, but yeah. Ooh. I always say I want to read more classics, but then I never do that. So I couldn't even try that right now. Like I can't focus on any dang thing. So there's no way I can manage a hard book. Like literally this was the hardest book I'd read in a while. And it wasn't a hard book, but it was like I had to focus. I don't know. Yeah, I've been very distracted lately with my reading. I'm working on toning down social media. If I can like stay off of social media, that would help. Oh, it was a long book. So yeah, I haven't decided yet if I'm going to do another big reading challenge this year. I have to think about it. If I do, I'm going to make it more open-ended because like I really wanted to do like I am with my youngest daughter right now. We're doing an around the world theme for school. We're reading a lot of books from around the world, so I am technically doing my challenge. I'm just not focusing on the specific challenges because she just wants to pick books from different places and learn about them. So but yeah, I don't know yet. If I do another challenge, I'm going to make it a very open-ended one. So we'll see. I might put out feelers and see how people feel about it. Like if they want to do one or if they wanted a year off of that and we can come back the next year. I don't know. I'll have to think about it. If I want to make this a continuous traditional thing that I just do every year or if I want to take a break. Ooh. How the Penguins Saved Veronica. I've never heard of that book. I will have to look that up. I do have a book called How to Survive Antarctica. And of course we have Mr. Popper's Penguins, but we've already read that ages ago and I don't think we were going to read that again. I'll look that up and see what that is. How the Penguins Saved Veronica. Interesting. It's hard to find books about places like Antarctica. There's not a lot of like fiction for that because like there's not a lot going on there, I guess, besides the penguins. Hmm. Okay, adult book. Good to know. I've never heard of that. How the Penguins Save Veronica. I'm going to look it up later and see what that is. Okay, good to know. I'm going to check that out. I don't think I've ever, besides Mr. Popper's Penguins and How to Save Antarctica, I don't think I've ever read anything else about Antarctica specifically. So that would be interesting. So thank you for the recommendation. Yeah, we're still reading in North America. I don't know how we got stuck in North America for so long. We started school back in like the beginning of September, and we're still like we just moved on to Mexico. Like, how has it taken us so long? So, ooh, yes, I do want to read more nonfiction. I used to read a lot more nonfiction, and I just haven't lately. So, that is a thing I'd like to do too. I might make a list because I do own a bunch of stuff. Oops, I'm shaking the whole thing. I do own a bunch of nonfiction I'd like to pick up. So maybe if I make a video like talking about those books, it'll make me want to pick them up more. Oh, How I Became a Ghost was really good. I have not read the rest of the book. I think it's a trilogy. I haven't read the rest of them. I keep meaning to buy them so that I can finish it. But yeah, that was a really good book. Ooh, really, Amy? That's interesting. I've always tended to gravitate more to fiction than nonfiction, but over the last like decade or so, I have done a lot more nonfiction reading than I had before. So that is something that I would like to do more of because I really haven't read a lot of nonfiction lately. Mm. Oh, the woman who became, isn't that, I think I have that in level 10. I've read that, but years ago. But yeah, I think that's in my level 10 for Build Your Library. It's a really good book. But yeah, I'm trying to think, have I read any nonfiction lately? And I haven't. So, ooh, Sapiens is really good, but did you know that they just came out with a graphic novel? It's part one, so I'm assuming it's the first half of the book, but it might be the first third because I don't know if it's going to be like part one and part two or if there's three parts. But I have the graphic novel. I've only flipped through it, but it's beautiful and I'm excited to read it. That's probably like at the top of my list of like nonfiction that I want to get to because I read Sapiens. I don't think we finished it. I think we got like 3/4 of the way through Sapiens. So I would like to go back and finish that at some point. But we read that a few years ago as a read aloud with my twins, and it was great. We had so many really good discussions. At some point, I want to go back and write a discussion guide to go with it for Build Your Library, but I don't know when that will happen, so don't hold me to it. But it was really, really interesting. And so when I saw there was a graphic novel adaptation, I was so excited. So I bought that, and I really want to read it very soon because I want to talk about it with people and like recommend it hopefully. So yeah, I love reading graphic novels. That's a thing that I really came to fairly recently. Like I just had never tried to read comics and graphic novels before. In my mind it was too busy and I wouldn't be able to focus, but I've like trained myself to do it. And so if I can find a graphic novel adaptation of something or just a graphic novel history type story, I really like those. I think they're really interesting. I've heard several people mentioning Braiding Sweetgrass, and I keep saying I'm going to pick that up. And that's really interesting that it's read by the author. I really like, if I'm going to listen to an audiobook, I prefer to listen to like memoirs read by the author because then I feel like I'm just listening to them talk about their lives and it makes it that much more interesting and I can focus better. I don't really do well with audiobooks because I tend to like lose track of the story because my mind starts to wander. Um, I've read Mouse. I have the first volume. No, I think I have both volumes, but I've only read the first one and I loved it. So that's excellent. I just picked up another World War II graphic novel. What is it called? I just bought it and I can't remember the name of it, but it's about 6 survivors and their stories. And that's a graphic novel. Ooh, I've heard good things about Lab Girl too. That's also a book that I've had like on my list. That I don't think I own it though. Do I? Do I own Lab Girl? Sad when I don't know what I actually have. I don't think I do. I think I had it on a list of things I was going to potentially buy for some level I was writing for Build Your Library, but I didn't end up getting it. I've been wanting to listen to The Princess Diarist. I've heard that was really, really good, the audio for that. I might have to look for that sometime. I need to get a new library card because mine expired ages ago and I just hadn't been for a while. And then with the pandemic, I just hadn't been able to get it renewed. So my library card is useless. So I can't use like the overdrive system at all. I keep saying I'm going to borrow Sarah's because Sarah still has her library card. So I might do that because I haven't been able to listen to anything lately. So I'm going to have to look that up. That's another thing, though, that I want to add when I read more nonfiction. I want to read some more memoirs because I always enjoy them, but I hardly ever pick them up. So that's a thing that I want to do more of too. So I'm going to have to make a list of my goals soon so I can make my usual annual, like my goals video, but I haven't really had time to think too hard about it. Monique says, do you use anything to keep track of all the books you have? Not anymore. We used to have an tracker system. I want to say it was called something like Monster. I don't remember now, but it was with it's on the Mac, and I don't have a Mac anymore. So we lost that when I changed to a PC, and I've never replaced it with anything. I've said a couple times I wanted to find some sort of an app where I could like walk through the house and zap all the books and put them in some kind of a system. Because I, honest to God, I don't know how many books I own. It's a lot, but I don't know what that number is. And I don't know like how many duplicates I have of things, because I have a tendency to buy things when I see them without really thinking about whether I already own it or not. Just be like, oh, I need that. And now I have 2 of them or 3. So yeah, I need to find some kind of an app. If you guys have any recommendations. Yeah, I've seen Libwib get good reviews. So that's one that I have on my list to check out. But I haven't set anything up yet. But that is a thing I want to do, because it would be nice to know. I used to try to do an Excel spreadsheet, but it got out of hand and I like lost track at some point, and then I just scrapped it because it was woefully out of date. And like I get rid of things pretty regularly. Like I was just working on a purge recently because I was running low on shelf space and I was trying to make some room. So like I have like a couple boxes of books I just got rid of, so that would just be impossible for me to keep up a spreadsheet. Like, I don't know. Yeah, I thought about doing one on Goodreads too, but I don't know if that would work for me. I'm not sure. I'll have to think about what I want to do with that. But I love Goodreads for keeping track of like what I'm reading, like what I've actually read and what I'd like to read in the near future. Although I really need to go and weed out my to be read again, because my TBR shelf is out of control. I keep letting it get crazy out of hand. Yeah, I know. I've seen like apps where you can use it like a barcode reader, but I don't know how that works. And it would be cool if you could just buy one and then just zap all your books. But I know when we were working on coming up with inventory for a bookstore potential that we were going to do, I discovered it was a pain in the butt to try to just barcode scan, because not all books have a scan thing you can do, and older books don't always have ISBN numbers, and it's just a pain. So yeah, I don't know. It would be a huge, overwhelming job to go through my whole library, but it's something I'd like to do so that I feel like I'm on top of it and I'm organized. So, but yeah, if there's a way to like scan things in and out, like when you're getting rid of something, that you could just like zap it again and it takes it out of your inventory, that would be really cool. If this doesn't exist, I want someone to get on top of it, because that would be really helpful. Okay, so this is about an hour now. I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. And thanks so much for hanging out with me and talking about I keep wanting to call it the night circus, the night watch. And I look forward to talking to you guys again in December about the Midnight Library. I'm excited to read that. So that'll be a lot of fun. So I hope to see you all again then. So thanks so much for hanging out, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye. Happy reading.